there's no better education than getting out and seeing the world.
The experiences are what you're going to remember in the long run.
Getting out to see the world has just really opened my eyes to a lot of things.
I know a little bit about a lot of random things, and that's because of travel.
We're going to learn so much more and stay up to date with these destinations.
It's going to help us get even better at building group itineraries.
I'm really looking forward to having great conversations about places.
Welcome to Destination Dispatch.
Hello, I'm Jim Delleman with Group Travel Odyssey. Thank you for joining us again today for another episode of Destination Dispatch. Before we get started, I do want to remind you, if you've not done so yet, if you've not joined us yet, we do ask that you do us a couple of favors. Make sure to connect with us on LinkedIn, Group Travel Odyssey, like our Facebook page as well. Again, Group Travel Odyssey. And if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure that you hit the little subscribe button. Also, if you ring the bell, you'll be notified anytime that we do have new content on our YouTube channel. Well, today, we have another special place that is very group friendly that we really want to encourage you to take your groups to. But before we get started with that, I need a couple people to come on and help me with this. So please help me welcome our lead navigator and also the host of Business Navigator, Keith Snowd. Hey, Keith.
Hey, Jim.
How's it going today?
It's going great here in Florida.
Oh, good. Rainy here in New York, but that's okay. You know,
it's rainy here too, which is a typical Florida afternoon. So yes, headed into the rainy season. So yeah,
wonderful. Well, we're going to also bring on the host of Destinations Beyond Expectations podcast. Please help me welcome Stevie G. Hey, Stevie.
Hello, guys. Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday. Friday Eve, as we like to call it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And it has been a week, so
yeah. Yes, it has. Well, you know what? It's the busy Easter travel season, so
it is, and fortunately, group travel seems to be incredibly busy as well, which we are all very thankful for, and yes, I know all of our GTO users are very thankful as well. Today, we've got another destination that is incredibly group friendly that we want to share with everybody as well. Have you guys been to the area to Prince William County, Virginia?
I have, but it's been a while. It was way pre-pandemic, but yes.
I've been in the area, sort of. I haven't spent too much time there, but I know you have, Jen.
I have. Well, I've been around the area. Also, I've been through Manassas recently in that region, but there's so much history, there's so much going on, and there's so much for your groups to actually immerse themselves in. But instead of me saying more about it, why don't we bring on our guest today, who happens to be the tourism sales specialist with Visit Prince William, Virginia. Please welcome Mike Stoupa. Mike, how are you?
Gentlemen, how's it going?
It's good. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Rainy here too, but such is the season.
Yeah, April showers, they say. What are we going to do? Well, thank you for joining us today.
April showers bring those May groups, is what they do.
Oh, well, right. Let's hope. Let's hope. Even last minute May groups, we can still.
That's right.
So, Mike, as I was saying, we've all been in the area, we've all been through, but what is it about Prince William, Virginia, that is so special for group business?
Couple things. So, we're close proximity to Washington, D.C. As if I moved my head, we're only 25 miles away from Washington, D.C. So very easy to get to, both with Interstate 66 from the east and west to Interstate 95 going north and south. Most folks pass through us anyway, just getting to Washington, D.C. or wherever they're traveling on the East Coast. So we're easy to get to, but we are full of history, as you alluded to, from Manassas Battlefield to the National Museum of the Marine Corps, and all the other sites in between. Really think adds a lot to a group's trip. And then just the diverse opportunities that we have for groups to do things. We do have a waterfront. Our dining scene is on the up and up, especially for groups. And just there's a myriad of other sites that you can include in your itinerary that you wouldn't have expected. So you can visit for the first time and see something new, and you could visit for the third and fourth time and still see something new. So I think there's just a lot that we can offer.
What would you say? Well, actually, since it is in close proximity to DC, would it be a good location, do you think, for people to kind of make as their base as they travel around to different areas, and then they can stay with you in your area?
You hit the nail on the head. Thank you for saying it without even me having to mention that. But yeah, a lot, I would say probably 90 to 95% of the groups that we do get are coming and using us as a home base, whether it's to go into Washington or into the other localities nearby in Virginia. We're less than an hour from Luray Caverns. We're 45 minutes or 30 to 45 minutes from DC's wine country. We've got multiple battlefields nearby that aren't Manassas. Plus, you've got other world-class museums that are only within 20 to 30 minutes of our destination. So you can make your itinerary home in Manassas or in Woodbridge, but then get to other places really quickly and easily.
So, now that you mentioned that, you've got, you also have several attractions and things like that. You mentioned the Museum of the Marine Corps right in your area. And so a group really can spend some time in your area as well, not having to even go to some of those. Do you find that you have a lot of groups that choose to do that mix? Is it picking up? What's your trend been with, because you do have a lot of offerings as I looked over the things you sent us. So,
I'd say there's a decent amount that they've been to Virginia before, but they haven't maybe discovered Prince William yet. So they will make their, maybe their first trip in will be, just maybe a 2-day 1 night or a 3-day 2 night visit to Prince William, whether it's to visit the Marine Corps Museum, like you mentioned, or some of the other historical attractions that we all have to offer. But then, while they're here, they'll maybe do an art class, or maybe they'll do a tour with our mayor in Occoquan, or maybe they'll do a coffee tasting at one of our local roasters in Haymarket. So there's just a lot of odds and ends that they can include to stay a while, but they come primarily for the reasons that, those big attractions that I mentioned: Manassas Battlefield, the Marine Corps Museum, and then we haven't mentioned it before, but yet Potomac Mills is our third biggest attraction, the largest outlet mall in the state of Virginia. So they come for those, but then they find other things to make the rest of their itinerary full.
Well, and I think often that with destinations like yours, that if people get creative about how they put their itineraries together, let's say they're doing a DC trip, but they're staying in Prince William County. If we all know traffic's an issue. Traffic's an issue everywhere. It's a nightmare here in Orlando. Yeah. If you would wake up in the morning, eat your breakfast, and then maybe do one of the attractions that's local, and then make your way into DC, you're going to not sit in traffic as long, or do the reverse and think about how you handle the end of the day or things like that. I think that a lot of people sometimes don't spend enough time to kind of be creative on how they can really use an area like yours to their advantage. So yes,
I'm going to take that and run with it, Keith, because you gave me the softball there. So we do have a number of attractions that it works out perfectly for. For example, the Marine Corps Museum, which is down on 95, it's on the southern part of Prince William, but it's only 10, 15 minutes from the hotels that you might be staying at in Woodbridge. So if you go south in the morning, you're going against traffic. They open at 9 o'clock. They'll even open earlier if you do the film that they offer, which is phenomenal. And I swear they pipe in dust. It's just gets me every time. But there's the Marine Corps Museum can open early. We have all of our historical sites that the site managers have the keys. So if you need to get there at 7:30 in the morning or 8 o'clock in the morning, they'll open for you. And then you're starting that. If you're on the road by 9 o'clock, then you're getting into DC or wherever you're traveling to in the rest of Virginia, without hitting that big traffic push. Right. But I think in addition to that, we do also offer portable programs. So if you don't want to start that driver clock and go to an attraction in the morning, we can bring historians and some of our other attraction information to the hotel. And then, I'm thinking especially a student group in the, that maybe has a late dinner cruise in Alexandria or the district. They can do an educational experience at the hotel and then get on the road later. So they're starting their driver hours later, and then are able to get that into their itinerary.
Well, that's brilliant. That's a huge that's a huge plus, because driver hours are a big issue right now. So that is a huge time saver.
Yeah.
You have that late night the night before, and you want to start at 7:30. You might not be starting at 7:30. So having something like that, that's a great plus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike, I want to ask you about something you touched on at the beginning of our stream, and that was the dining scene in Prince William County. Can you kind of get into that a little bit more? What are some of the restaurants available, and particularly for groups? What can groups do?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're really blessed in the grand scheme of things for our group dining options. We have everything from waterfront dining that is both adult and student group friendly, to kind of, we'll call it upscale group dining, maybe at a private country club that's, maybe in a, overlooks the 18th hole of a golf course that's in a historic manor home. And then everything else in between, casual dining of all different price points and types and group sizes. So whether you're a group of, 25 that just needs a quick little lunch between, going from point A to point B, or you want to have a sit down, nice, dinner experience that you can bring in local, say, artists to do a painting class while you're having dinner, or a local performer that can, sing for your group or play the guitar. We can do all of those things. But then I would say, especially in peak season, if you're planning for a student group, you go into the district, you could be staying in Prince William County, and you go into the district and try to find a dinner reservation. And I hope that you like eating at either 4 o'clock or 8:30. But we don't get that compression, especially in the springtime. So you can pretty much tell me, say, hey, Mike, I need a dinner for 75 people on Thursday at 6 o'clock. And I could say, okay, here you go. Here are your 3 to 4 dining options within 2 miles of your hotel. So we're really blessed in that regard to have multiple dining options that across all different price points. And they're just a nice diverse mix. It's just I can't get over when I started with the Bureau about 10 years ago. I wasn't as familiar with our dining options, and just have been blown away ever since. Year after year, we keep adding new restaurants that will take groups. So I just can't stress that enough. If you need a dining option, please come let me know.
And I was going to jump in really quick. For adult groups, you talk about student groups a little bit, but for adult groups, there's a lot of cool wineries and breweries that I've kind of seen in Prince William County. Can you talk about that a little bit? What kind of breweries and wineries can groups visit if they're an adult group?
Absolutely. So we have a what's called our Steins, Vines, and Moonshine Trail, and it's our collection of exactly that: wineries, breweries, and distilleries that groups and individuals can visit. But we have a couple of them that are more group friendly. One of my personal favorites is Malarkey Distilled Spirits. It's a family-owned business that is very close to our outdoor performance venue called Jiffy Lube Live. It's only about a mile away. And they really take a group in as family. They are just a bunch of welcoming folks that will take you into the back of the facility, show you how they make it, why they make it, explain their family history and how that is impacting their production of their craft spirits. And then they obviously let you sample and taste what they're putting together. So they do a phenomenal job, but we also have, farm breweries. So you could be what feels like maybe 20 minutes from civilization, but you're going to pull up to a brewery that has just scenic views, has really welcoming staff, that serves great beer, that you can just relax and have some time to decompress and enjoy the scenery. But one of our newest wineries is the winery at Sunshine Ridge Farm, and it sits at on Lake Manassas. So it is a waterfront restaurant that has just breathtaking views. It can be as quiet as can be on a weekday evening, but although they are busy, but it is just a nice place to relax, enjoy a nice glass of wine, and they do also serve other adult beverages as well. But those are some of my favorites.
That sounds great. I mean, and that kind of brings up another point. It's like, I think a lot of times people are thinking that DC area, if they're going to be staying in Prince William County, it's going to be a lot of student groups possibly. But it sounds like you have many different markets that Prince William County is perfect for.
Yeah, the adult groups, they certainly come in the spring as well. We have a lot of folks that plan their retail tour catalogs to come and stay with us and visit visit the region. We're not as much as, during the spring. Yeah, we may have a decent amount of student groups, but the adult groups do still come and visit because it is a relaxing place. I kind of describe it as we're the area, part of DC that you can just kind of like let your hair down. You can come over here and relax while also having, learning a lot, while also still having a fun time on your vacation.
So are there any special events or things like that happen during the year that might be of interest to groups in your area?
So one of my personal favorites for groups is on November 10th, which happens to be the Marine Corps' birthday. They do a cake cutting. They do multiple cake cutting ceremonies that all Marines celebrate, worldwide. But they do theirs at the museum. It's one of their most highly attended events. But groups can kind of see that pomp and circumstance where the oldest Marine cuts the cake, the oldest Marine in attendance cuts the cake and then passes it down to the youngest Marine in attendance. So that's also kind of moving to see where, a gentleman maybe in his 80s or 90s is cutting the cake and passing it off to somebody who just finished boot camp. So it signifies that passing of tradition. But I think that is just who the Marines are. And it really shows. So that's one of my more favorite events that I try to encourage folks to. And it's in November too, so it's not as busy in the DC area, and it still can be quite comfortable to visit.
That's great.
Well, Mike, this might be a tough question, but if there's maybe one or two things that come to mind that you think more groups should include on their itineraries when they visit, is there anything you can speak on as far as what more groups should include on their visit to Prince William County?
So I'm going to piggyback off my Marine Corps folks. So there is a cemetery about 3 minutes down the road called Quantico National Cemetery. And I think of it as Arlington National Cemetery, just on a much smaller scale. But it is a national cemetery, so all branches of the military can be buried there, despite it only being steps or a stone's throw from Marine Corps Base Quantico. But what makes that cemetery unique is there's a special section, Section 22, that's dedicated to the Missing in America project. And what they do is they go into hospitals, sheriff's offices, any place that could have a cremated remains of an individual, and they will go to those places and say, we'd like to have your unclaimed, and which ones are veterans. And so they will claim the ones that are veterans that have gone unclaimed and give them the full proper burial that they deserve as a United States veteran. And groups can do a private flag placing experience at those grave sites. Everybody gets a flag. So it's not like Arlington when you place a wreath, you only have a few individuals that get to go up and place that wreath. Whereas this is a little bit more personal. They can go find say if they served in the Army, they can go find an Army brother or sister and place their flag next to those grave sites. So it's a nice way to say thank you to our veterans, but it's also a very intimate, more personal experience.
Wow, that sounds incredible. That's really great.
And it's a free experience. We as the CVB even provide the flag, so there's no cost to add that to your itinerary. And it takes about an hour, but it's a nice tie-in with the Marine Corps Museum, certainly.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow.
That's really great. That's really wonderful. But, we want to continue on with this conversation. But first, we're going to take a quick message about some of our partners. We'll be right back.
Group Travel Odyssey would like to take a moment to thank our amazing partners, including Book My Group, Travel Advocates, We Travel, Broadway Inbound, and Fly My Group. These partnerships help make business without boundaries possible, and we encourage our viewers to learn more about these wonderful companies. Now, back to Destination Dispatch.
Now that we're back, what we'd like to do is we're going to change things up just a little bit. I'm going to have Keith and Mike walk you through, or walk all of us through, a sample itinerary of what your groups can expect when they come visit Prince William.
Great. So Mike sent us some itineraries, and we have put one in GTO, and this is the one that we have in GTO. There are more. I actually can scroll down here and show you that he has at the bottom, he has his map, but then he also has some other itineraries and information available at the bottom there. But this is available in GTO, and all of the suppliers that Mike lists on these itineraries and everything will be in there for you. All you have to do is go to that Trip Templates button on your Sales Manager app and search Prince William, Virginia, and all of these will come up. So, Mike, I'm going to let you walk us through this because you're the expert here. So I will shut up and let you have at it.
Well, thank you. So this is kind of a nice extension of our last comments there. What the idea for this itinerary was to capitalize on certainly the military history that the Northern Virginia area has. The Marine Corps Museum obviously being one of the big centerpieces. So in the itinerary, you're just going to start off your first day with the Missing in America Project experience at Quantico National Cemetery. We're going to provide those flags. You're going to get a tour of the cemetery, learn about the different types of headstones, because there's marble versus granite. There's flat to the ground. There's the upright headstones. The casket burials versus the cremated remains, and everything else in between. So it's a great tour. You'll even get to see a gold star, why am I blanking? But the David Cafferata is, I'm going to remember it in here in just a little bit. But anyway, so you get a tour of the cemetery, you get to place those flags at the sites of those formerly forgotten veterans. And then move on to your next stop, which is
and before you move on, I want to ask specifically, how does a tour operator book that experience? Do they book it through the Quantico National Cemetery? Do they book it through you folks? How does that work?
Yes, so that is the only experience that we can actually take the reservation for ourselves.
Wow, great.
So the Missing in America Project folks asked that they just focus on identifying the for previously forgotten veterans, and that's their mission. So they want to stay laser focused on that. So we just handled the logistics of head counts and making that reservations in terms of timing. So yeah, you can email me directly to make that reservation.
Okay, that's great because I can imagine, just thinking through, I already know some people that would be very interested in knowing more about that. So that's great. So sorry to interrupt you, but I just wanted to put that extra commercial in there for you.
Excuse me. Well, no, I'm glad that you asked, because we have had occasions where people have contacted the cemetery directly or Miss America Project directly, but they just forwarded it over to us. So
great, perfect.
But once you're done at the cemetery, you can head just a few minutes down the street over to the National Museum of the Marine Corps. For those that haven't visited before, the outside of the building does look like the picture there. It is meant to evoke the image of the flag raising at Iwo Jima, but the architect designed it smartly that it's for all branches of the military, it's for all Americans, not just the Marines. So the Army may see artillery at the ready, Air Force may see a plane taking off. So there's other ways that you can interpret the outside of the building, but the inside is absolutely phenomenal. It takes at least 2 hours to get through. That's an adult group rushing through, but groups can typically spend between 2 and 3. That includes time for their large format theater film called We the Marines. It is a definite must, in my opinion, of adding to your visit to the museum. They also have dining on site. They have a cafeteria style a quick eatery called Devil Dog Diner. But then the really cool part, I think, is Tun Tavern. It's a recreation of the tavern in which the Marines were established back in the 1700s. So I would, and they can also do meals. Say if you're there for lunch, they can do meals out on the Overlook, which makes for a really cool experience.
And they also will do special meals for I know they have a group minimum, but I mean for larger groups, they will do special meals after the closing of the museum, even in the morning, if I remember right. Correct?
Correct. If you needed a breakfast, they will accommodate a breakfast. But yeah, the real piece de resistance is the after hours, because the museum clears out. It is just your group in there. They light the museum differently. It's cool and impressive during the daytime, but at night, the lighting projects out onto some of the quotes that have famous Marines have said that just really make it stand out and powerful. And they will customize, a menu to try to accommodate your budget, but it works for both. They will accommodate both student and adult groups after hours.
That's fantastic. That's great.
Yeah, really cool.
Yeah.
So after, a day of doing the cemetery and the Marine Corps Museum, you may want to check into your hotel, or you can just go straight to dinner. One of the dining options that I mentioned before that we're really blessed to have is the Harbor Grill. It is on the Occoquan River in Woodbridge, and it's about less than a mile from I-95. So you really don't have an excuse of skipping by and not doing dinner there. But they have menus for both adults and student groups. You can sit outside under their covered patio. And it is also heated. So say you wanted to come visit in March and it's a little chilly, but you just really want the view, they can accommodate that. But they also have ample room inside. So they can do, 2 to 3 buses quite easily there. And it's plenty of parking on site.
Well, the first thing I noticed here were the crab cakes and sweet potato fries. So you made me really happy when I saw that. Now I'm hungry.
You're welcome. I've eaten there myself a number of times, and I know I've sent a ton of groups there, and everybody's come away happy.
That's great. That's awesome. And then you have a lot of hotel product in Prince William County, don't you? You have quite a diversity of product there.
Yeah, for the most part. We've got 45 total hotels, but it tends to run, most of them tend to be select service. So your Holiday Inn Express, Hampton Inn style, where breakfast is included, where a hot breakfast is included. But we also have, more full service hotels like Hilton Garden Inn, or with restaurants on site, at least with the courtyards, and there's a couple Holiday Inns as well. But price point wise, we're again on the affordable side of Washington. So
right.
I know a lot of folks come to DC and be like, "Oh gosh, it's going to be so expensive." If you choose your hotel options correctly and stay in Prince William County, you're going to be good.
Well, we all know how hotel rates have been rising, so that's actually a really good suggestion, especially with some of the other alternatives we've already discussed here about how planning your itinerary and the options that you have. So I think there's lots of positives there. So day 2.
So day 2, we're kind of talking about that coming to your hotel option, or that I mentioned earlier. So we can have a historian come to talk to you about the history of Marine Corps Base Quantico and how it started back in the early 1900s. It was, I think, in 1917 that the Marine Corps established Marine Corps Base Quantico. But it is the home to the Marine education. So every officer at some point in their military career comes through Quantico and comes to do training. They're home to Marine Corps University. They're home to HMX-1, which is the President's Helicopter Squadron and the Vice President's Helicopter Squadron. And then they have the War College there, and the land has changed hands and served different purposes throughout its time. But by and large, it's a really cool experience to learn about, what the area is, how the Marines have used it, and really, again, just kind of like learning about the history of the area. I think that impacts a lot of your trip. So after you do that, you can head up to one of our historic homes called Ripon Lodge. It at one point had a fantastic view of the Potomac River, but then they've since, added homes and other things like that. But you can still see a glimpse of the river when you're there. But it was a home of a prominent figure back in the 1700s, and he used it as his primary residence, but also as a access to the port because it's not that far from, again, the water. So but they tell an interesting story there. Adult groups can do fun things such as playing period games. So how would you have entertained somebody in the 1800s? If you had somebody come visit, you can play those type of games, both indoor and outdoor. And you can do a historical tea. So they would have served you tea as if you were in the 1800s, and then learning about the property while you're there as well.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Really
cool.
But then to kind of tie that, because the admiral there, the former owner of Ripon Lodge, had a military connection. All of these things, again, tie into the military, and your tour is going to end with the National Museum of the United States Army, which just recently opened up at Fort Belvoir. So it's only about 20 minutes away from Woodbridge that you can add in that museum. I visited there. It's very impressive. They've done a great job. I'm a little biased to my Marines, but the Army Museum does do a phenomenal job there. But they've got the theater. They've got multiple engaging exhibits. They've got all the vehicles and cast figures that you can see. Plus, they do have dining on site. So that's kind of just a really quick snippet of just some of the military history that you can get in a very short amount of time.
Wow, it's a really I think about a group that even if they're doing a DC or some of the other, the caverns or things like that, that you can really, if you intersperse these things and them being so close to your hotel, that the nice part about it is if you need to kind of monitor driver hours and how much time you're using, you really can mix these things in, have an amazing itinerary and not blow your transportation budget either. So, there's lots of really great options here. And I love military history. So, Jim and I share the fact that we both worked at the Intrepid, so we both have that history in our background. So there's a lot of really cool things here. I think any type of group would really enjoy it. So thanks for sharing the itinerary.
Well, when you decide to pick your dates, let me know, and we'll be glad to have you.
After doing these destination dispatches, I think I've got my entire vacation planned for the next 10 years.
It's true. Well, and that's the thing. Like we were saying at the very beginning, it's like we've been through, we've been there, we've been around, but there's so much more to actually learn about Prince William, Virginia, and everything that there is to do there. So it's not just a pass through. It's a place where people can go and spend several days and really have a remarkable time with the history of our country. So it really is a phenomenal place, and it is very group friendly. So that's 2 pluses. So
yes, actually, I think some of those count for about 5 pluses. So
very true. Very true.
I'm not going to say no.
So, Mike, if people want to find out more, how can they get in touch with you, or how can they find out more about Prince William, Virginia?
Absolutely. So they can always certainly email me directly at mstoupa@pwcgov.org, or they can visit us online at visitpwc.com/groups. Or you can just visit pwc.com to plan your individual itinerary that I know Keith's going to do here in just a little bit.
That's right.
But the group section of our site has additional sample itineraries. It's got additional list of all of our dining options for groups, so you can find quite a lot there online.
Fantastic. And I have to say, you have a spectacular website. Going through it over this past week and a half, couple of weeks, there's so much information, and the way that it's broken down so you can get the attractions and the dining and the accommodations and everything. It's so much information, and it's laid out so well. And congratulations to you guys, because I don't want to say it's not often, but you really have done things very well for people to find out the information that they need about Prince William, Virginia. So congratulations on a fantastic website too.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So, we want to take time to thank you for coming on here today and giving us all of the options that there are for groups to come and stay and pass through and visit and, add it as part of their itinerary to so many trips. So Prince William, Virginia is definitely a place for many, many groups. And again, as we found out, not just student market, but adults, seniors, everybody, there's something for everybody there. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing all of that with us today. And, and again, I'm sure you'll be hearing from some of our users of the GTO system and some of our viewers as well, just to get more information about how they can bring their groups in. So thanks for joining us today, Mike.
Yeah. Pleasure to be joining you. Thank you again for the opportunity, and really humbled that you guys made some time for me. Thank you so much.
Anytime, Mike. That's great. Absolutely.
Well, just a reminder that if you haven't done so, make sure to follow us on LinkedIn, like our Facebook page. You can actually subscribe to our YouTube channel. And also, as well as subscribing to our YouTube channel, if you want to keep up with any of our past media presentations, whether it is GTO Coach and Go, which I host on Tuesdays, or whether it's Destination Dispatch or Business Navigator, those are all hosted on our YouTube channel. And gentlemen, did you realize, and I didn't realize this until I was counting them up today, this past week we did our 25th GTO Coach and Go.
Wow.
Awesome.
It's our silver anniversary.
And we still have stuff to talk about. That's the thing that's fantastic, is we still have stuff to talk about. So
wow, that's amazing. That's really cool. 25.
I'm very happy about that. So
isn't that considered a season now in the new sitcom world? So like we've done a whole season or something?
Yeah, we have. Our first season's done, We're not taking a hiatus. We're into season 2.
Yeah. Season 2. Yeah. New highlights on season 2.
Exactly. We had some cliffhangers in this past episode too. So you have to tune in next week to find out how that was all resolved.
I don't know that if we're talking about a computer system that we want to talk about cliffhangers, because
no, definitely not. And Keith, if they want to find out more information about Group Travel Odyssey, how can they do that?
So you can go to grouptravelodyssey.com. You can obviously contact Jim, Stevie G, or myself. We're actually would love to share some information. And if you want to watch a short demo, and I mean short, like about 9 minutes or so, that gives you a really good overview of what we do at Group Travel Odyssey and the community we build, you can go to our YouTube page, and it's right there so you can see it.
We have got a lot of stuff on our YouTube page.
Lot of stuff. There's a lot of content out there. You can learn specifics about how to do currency exchange, currency conversions. You can do anything you want to do. You can probably find it on our YouTube page.
Oh, that's fantastic. Stevie, how can we find out more about Destinations Beyond Expectations podcast?
Sure. Destinations Beyond Expectations is the podcast designed for students of travel. You can listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, all of the above. This week, my guest is Sarah from the Avenue to Adventure blog, and we are covering 3 national parks to have on your travel radar for 2022. Do you guys want me to tell you what it is?
I want to know. Yes. Yeah.
Well, you'll have to tune in.
No. That's not what we're doing here.
New episodes every Friday. Episodes every Friday. So dbetravel.com, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, and I look forward to sharing my guests' work and travel experience with you guys. So Destinations Beyond Expectations.
We clearly know who the tease is here.
Well, fortunately, it is Friday Eve, so we don't have that much longer to wait.
That's true. Absolutely. That's right. It would give something to do while I'm waiting on my next group to show up on Friday, so I can just put that in and listen to it. So
fun times. But, once again, we want to thank Mike for sharing all that wonderful information with us today, and we hope to see a lot of our groups heading in that direction very, very soon. Don't forget to join us every Thursday at 2:00 in the afternoon Eastern time for a brand new episode of Destination Dispatch. That is all for now. Have a good weekend.
Thank you for watching this episode of Destination Dispatch. We invite you to stay connected with Group Travel Odyssey on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn, and be sure to check out more of our media, including GTO Coach and Go and the Destinations Beyond Expectations podcast. Please visit our website, grouptravelodyssey.com, where you can learn more about GTO and request a demo. Group Travel Odyssey, business without boundaries.